Hi folks, Joseph Kursky here with you to talk about collecting, analyzing, and mapping your citizen science data. Here's how to connect with me. Feel free to get a hold of me via any of these methods. I look forward to hearing about what you do with citizen science data and how you can map and analyze it. So let's learn from each other. Here are our learning objectives. I want you to understand the linkages between citizen science and mapping, why it all matters. Number 2, understand the topics that you can teach using citizen science using maps and projects, real-world projects. Number 3, understand how you as an educator can teach citizen science using web mapping tools and data. And lastly, but not least, understanding how you can communicate the results of your analysis using web mapping applications. So here's a real live person teaching with some of these web mapping applications inside a real classroom. Why maps? Well, maps have always been powerful means of communicating about what is known and what is unknown. Today's maps are digital, they're dynamic, they incorporate real-time data, and they can be viewed and created in 2D and 3D. And they can be embedded in communications tools, such as what I'm showing you right now. This is part of a SWAY presentation. You'll see some embedded online maps. And they can incorporate multimedia. Now, why maps for citizen science? Citizen science data is collected somewhere. It often exhibits spatial patterns. And these patterns can reveal relationships and trends, past, present, and future, from local to global scales. Citizen science data is mapped thousands of times on a daily basis. Some of the data is collected without the citizen's knowledge. For example, this one right here, you've all seen a traffic map, right? There's not a traffic meter or a traffic device, one of those cords that goes across the road, or a sensor of some sort every 10 meters. No, it's largely generated by individual cell phones that are geolocated traveling across freeways, for example, in Los Angeles. That data gets submitted to a server environment, and then it is translated to these mapping tools such as this ordinary Google traffic map, as probably you've all used. So that's generated largely from citizen science. Citizen scientists are collecting data on birds, litter, invasive species, weather, space, water quality and quantity, tree species, historical events, human health, traffic, and much more. Thus, the subjects that can be taught with citizen science include geography, environmental studies, information and communication technology or ICT, biology, mathematics, history, hydrology, language arts, and much more. Mapping the data lends new understanding and insights. That's exactly why we want to do it. We don't want to just map just because it's there, just because we can, just because the technology is cool. No, we want to map it to get new insights and understandings. So why teach with citizen science and GIS tools? Problem-based learning about 21st century key issues: water, energy, environment, crime, traffic, climate, natural hazards, population change, land use, biodiversity, and more. That's why to teach with these tools, because you're really focusing on the key issues of our time that are important issues that we need to grapple with. So number 2, you're using scientific and geographic inquiry. You're asking questions, you're gathering data, you're analyzing the data, you're assessing the results, you're communicating the results, and then it leads to additional questions. Number 3, you're engaging with and connecting with active learning in the community, and you're working in outdoor settings, which is important as well. Last but not least, you're fostering critical thinking skills, meaningful work in a wide variety of technologies, and spatial thinking. Now, why is this kid sad? This baby is sad because without geotechnologies, it's a sad world. There would be no supply chain management, there would be no mass transit, no Uber, no geocaching, no web mapping, or directions to your favorite coffee shop. Sad world indeed. Now here's OpenStreetMap. This is a citizen science project that's been going on for several years, and it is one of the great success stories of ordinary citizens deciding they need data on communities, on regions, and the data that is gathered in this OpenStreetMap project on a daily basis has resulted in this incredibly rich data set for the planet. It's a work in progress, but you can see the richness there. You can see the level of detail that exists in these OpenStreetMaps. And you can actually use OpenStreetMap, for example, in ArcGIS Online and also in ArcGIS Pro. Now, teaching with citizen science projects. Time doesn't permit me to go into all the citizen science projects that you could teach with, but Globe at Night is one of them that we've been involved with for years. How many stars can I see? What's my level of light pollution at night? Here's a Cyclone Center one where you can actually help NOAA and the National Weather Service identify which storm is stronger to supplement their database, and many, many more. Okay? Now here's my sleeping dogs in Taiwan picture. Why do I have sleeping dogs in Taiwan picture? Well, I was walking down this road and these dogs were very peaceably sleeping there. And so I just want to lay this before you. Don't teach these topics in a boring manner that puts everyone to sleep. These are exciting topics. I just encourage you to teach them in an engaging way, and a variety of ways to do that. So here's me with some real live educators, and let's talk about methods of mapping your own data via crowdsourcing. Lots of ways to do it. Let's just focus on 6. 6 ways to gather and map data via crowdsourcing. Number 1, you could map a crowdsourced spreadsheet. 2, use the Snap to Map Story Maps app. Number 3, Crowdsource Story Maps. Number 4, Survey123. Number 5, Collector for ArcGIS. Number 6, iNaturalist. Mapping a crowdsourced spreadsheet. I've got a video on this that we don't have time to look at right now, but basically you generate a spreadsheet. You share it, you make it editable, you put it in a map, and then multiple people can add data to it. It's incredible how easy that is. Or here's an alternative way. What if you put that spreadsheet in Google Docs or Google Sheets and you're editing it over there? Again, your ArcGIS Online map automatically updates if you make it editable and point to it. Number 2, Snap to Map. This is a Story Maps app. I can actually make a story map, a multimedia story map, on my smartphone. What's not to love? On my phone, I can make a map. Or if I just want to have photos that I've taken out in the field and maybe later on I'm going to make a map from it, I can do it later on when I'm back in the lab or back in the classroom. So, free app, check it out in the Esri Marketplace. Here's a sample map that I actually made for the University of Denver campus. You can see it right here. As I use that map, see, these are the photos I took. This yellow is my track that I went around the campus with and took these photographs and talked a little bit about all of the buildings and basically told a story about the University of Denver campus. I made that with Snap to Map. Number 3, set up a crowdsourced story map. Here is one on a tree survey. Here's a tree survey that numerous people participated in. So let's go ahead and view the map. So all these folks contributed to this tree survey, and you can see the different, it's not just trees, it's plants and other things. And so, okay, oh, that one's sad, it's dead. Okay, let's look at something that's a little more encouraging. Here's a healthy one. Tree survey, downtown San Diego. Crowdsource story map. So you basically go and set up a story map. You choose one of the apps, is a crowdsourced one. So like this one, you'll see if you keep it editable, you'll see a big plus sign. And you could call it participate or add your data or whatever you want to call it. But basically, as long as you leave it editable, your users can go ahead and add their data to it. And it could be about trees, it could be about litter, it could be about condition of sidewalks, noise, whatever you want it to be. That's another way to do it in terms of adding and participating in this citizen science community and then mapping your data. Survey123. This is so powerful. Survey123 is a form-centric method of generating surveys for field data collection. You can use either Excel or pick items from a web form to populate your field-enabled field survey. Now, if you use the web form, it's very much like Google Forms or SurveyMonkey or any of those non-mapped kinds of surveys that you may have created in the past. It's as easy as that. Do you want a multiple choice one? Do you want a free text, etc.? True, false? If you can use a spreadsheet or are familiar with these online survey forms, you will be successful with Survey123. So what it looks like on a smartphone is you get a series of questions and a map that you can actually put your point on that map or say use my current location, and it adds the data in your current location. Also, there's Collector for ArcGIS, even more rigorous than Survey123 in some ways. But Collector lets you use your smartphone or tablet to collect and update information in the field, whether connected or disconnected. So I've got a video, for example, on using Collector for ArcGIS in the field, and there's lots of other resources for how to use Collector. Here's an example of educators out in the field collecting data in a certain part of the city of Redlands. So we collected data on curbs, trees, sidewalks, etc. in the city, historic lampposts, and in about 90 minutes, 90 educators had collected about 3,000 points with the Collector app, populating a single live web map. Pretty powerful stuff. And while they were out in the field, they looked at their own points, but they also could see points from, oh, I see my points. What are these other points on this map? Oh, it's your point, and it's your point, and it's his point or her point that they gathered. Really powerful to be able to see that in real time. Fascinating to be able to look at these things and populate a data set and also contribute to community issues. So this is a historical district in a city. What if the city actually wanted to collect all of these historical lampposts? Now the city in this case has already done it, but let's say they wanted to collect data from ordinary citizens on the location of these things. Easy to do with the Collector or the Survey 123 app. So this is the legend, and as you can see here, this is some of the data that we actually collected in this app. So you can see some of the attributes, the height, the type, the diameter, etc., and attachments, in this case, photos of that tree at that location. Really powerful to be able to do this. Okay, let's keep moving. iNaturalist. iNaturalist is a citizen science project, an online social network of naturalists, citizen scientists, and biologists built on the concept of mapping and sharing observations of biodiversity across the globe. Observations may be added via the website or from a mobile app. So I've got a essay on how to map iNaturalist data inside ArcGIS Online. Easy to bring your iNaturalist data into ArcGIS Online for further analysis. And so you can check out that essay that I wrote. Now, why gather data with iNaturalist? Well, because it's tied to a really rich data set on what kind of pine is that? Well, I'm going to look at a series of photographs. Oh, it's a ponderosa pine. Is it this type of ponderosa pine or that type of ponderosa pine? Well, I'm looking at images and I can choose which kind of species it is from this big database that you've got at your fingertips. And then you can bring it in, like I said, to ArcGIS Online, and this is what it looks like. The photographs come over, all the attributes that you've created, the scientific name, the common name, and so on. Really powerful and easy to do this. Real-life educators out there in the field collecting data with a colleague of mine from Esri. Don't just map it, folks. Analyze it. Don't just put a bunch of dots on the map and call it good. Well, done now and we can move on. Nope. Analyze it. Analyzing the results of your crowdsourced data in ArcGIS Online. So here's a few tips. Perform your analysis in ArcGIS Online. Answer such questions as, how many water wells are within 1 kilometer of the landfill in my community? Or what percentage of world earthquakes are on or near converging plate boundaries? Which ecoregions are under the most stress from high population density? So in this case, I've got the results of some analysis of which areas in a county in Colorado are near floodplains and are also on steep slopes that are highly susceptible to landsliding. So this intersection of these two data sets is this black outline that you can see here. I've got this map embedded inside my presentation here, but it's live inside ArcGIS Online. So I use the analytical tools in ArcGIS Online to do that. Finally, communicating the results of your investigation. Hey, use a story map. Story maps are multimedia live web maps that you can save, share, use on any device, etc. The communication options include the following. There is a presentation mode in ArcGIS Online. Simple, easy to do. Number 2, web mapping applications, including story maps. Number 3, embedding the maps and apps in web pages, WordPress blog, presentation tools like this one I'm using right here, Sway from Microsoft, and in other forms of media. So here's the presentation mode in ArcGIS Online. Let me show you what that looks like. Again, you get titles, you get slides that are actually not static slides, but they're tied to live web maps. Easy way to tell a story. You can see here, this is my presentation on a world without spatial thinking. And I can scroll through my slides. Again, they're all tied to live web maps. Why are people interested in GIS and so on? So what I can do here is I can actually I can skip to different slides. So for example, 3 ships: scholarship, citizenship, artisanship. So that's one of the slides in my presentation. The consequences, and so on. Okay? If future societies don't know how to think spatially. So this is a presentation inside ArcGIS Online. Here's another way of communicating results of your analysis, and that is with web mapping applications, including story maps. So here is my Boots of Wimberley, Texas story map that tells the story about a set of boots that are a part of a public art project in Wimberley, Texas. These boots are about 9 or 10 feet tall. Each one of them tells a story. History of Texas, birds of Texas, ecoregions of Texas, and so on. So I made a story map to tell the story about that particular public art project. So that is a tabbed or series kind of a story map. Also, you can embed the maps in apps. For example, the Alaska Fish and Game people. Now notice that this is on the Alaska Fish and Game website, but they've actually embedded a story map in there to talk about, in this case, urban bears. So these are this is an amazing amount of bear sightings, but these are bear sightings in Anchorage. You got all kinds of dates and attributes there, and across the top you've got some different tabs that show you different things. Let's look at interesting behaviors. This is actually tied to webcams that are on these bears. And I'm glad I had the job that I do, because if my job was to put these collars on these bears, folks, that would be a scary day at work for me. But you can see that the bear is interacting with another bear in this particular location. You can see pictures of bears or movies of bears swimming and all kinds of things. But the point I wanted to make there is that it's embedded in the Alaska Fish and Game website, and you too could embed these maps in your own website. This is my story map on a proposed trail in a town in Iowa. Questions, comments? Would love to hear from you. Resources, ArcGIS Online, story maps. How can I get ArcGIS Online for my school, for example, the nonprofit program, and then various ways to connect with me on LinkedIn and various other means. Also my video channel. So this is my ever so brief presentation on collecting, analyzing, and mapping your citizen science data. Sorry that was so rushed, but you can go through this whole presentation at your leisure at some point in the future. I encourage you to do that and give me your feedback on what you are doing with your citizen science data, mapping and analyzing it. Thank you.